Hello, and thank you for joining me. I'm Elizabeth Burden, your host for AZ Illustrated Arts. Tonight, we'll look at some ways that art is being passed from one generation to the next. Explore basket weaving with two prominent practitioners.
The one that I'm doing here, this one here is Hummingbird. When I had a son, he was just 2 weeks years old, mutts. The hummingbird came through the window, and I catch the hummingbird. I put a corn pollen on, and the hummingbird shake his wing, and the corn pollen fall off on my hand, and I bless my son with that.
Hear how stewards of Native cultures are working to both preserve traditional arts and support contemporary art practices.
It's been received okay, well, in the beginning, a lot of people, I had to do a lot of explaining to a lot of elder weavers of one work.
See how one of the fathers of American classical ballet is helping University of Arizona students learn the intricacies of the Balanchine method.
This is a classical piece, but the classicism is underneath it. And what's on top is a folk dance. It's an Italian folk dance.
And I'll talk with a seasoned actor-director who is helping local thespians in training understand and perform a classic comedy. But first, today's top stories.
Breakdowns in Arizona's Child Protective Services Agency are in the news again. A report says 6,000 suspected cases of child abuse reported to a hotline went uninvestigated for the last 4 years. The head of the agency overseeing CPS says they were misclassified as not needing investigation. Governor Jan Brewer says she's ordering every case to be investigated and is ordering the Department of Public Safety to determine how and why the situation came about. Brewer calls it, quote, an inexcusable failure. Arizona's unemployment rate for October was 8.2%, nearly a full point higher than the national unemployment rate. The state's rate was basically unchanged over the previous month when Arizona had an unemployment rate of 8.3%. Education and health services recorded the largest increase in jobs, while construction saw the biggest job losses in October. Over the last year, the state reports an increase in non-farm employment of a little more than 1.5%. Government and manufacturing jobs showed the highest losses year to year. The Green Party is no longer recognized as a party for statewide elections. That determination was made by the Secretary of State's office after the Green Party registration fell below the required minimum number. At last count, about 5,600 voters registered with the Green Party. And the clouds began rolling in this afternoon, and winter weather advisories are going up. In Tucson, the change in weather will bring plenty of rain and some flooding and snow on Mount Lemmon. And that's a look at tonight's headlines.
The Arizona State Museum recently showcased the enduring basket weaving traditions of Southwest Native cultures. Next, we bring you the sights and sounds of the festival and hear from two prominent modern-day masters of the ancient tradition.
My name is Sally Black. I'm from Monument Valley, Utah. This is sumac, the bush. We get it along the riverbanks. What we do is we clean off. The one that I'm doing here, this one here is Hummingbird. When I had a son, he was just 2 weeks years old, mutts. The hummingbird came through the window, and I catch the hummingbird. I put a corn pollen on, and the hummingbird shake his wing, and the corn pollen fall off on my hand, and I blessed my son with that, and he became an artist. And this is where the idea, some of it is coming from him.
I'm Royce Manuel from Salt River Community. Location is right east of Scottsdale and north of Mesa. I had to find the material where they would normally harvest, and I did find an area where agave grows naturally. That was a trip in itself because it's actually located approximately 60 miles from our community. And so I had to go around to the desert areas to find out what will work and where the actual area would be to go to, because then I have to think a concept of a long time ago of having to walk to that area because we didn't have horses, and we had to walk to that area and gather and prepare the materials and bring it all the way back home again. But it totally about 15 years of research prior to me actually starting working with the fiber and properly working with the fiber. And so it is a journey in itself. I've made the burden basket. I grew up knowing that some things that my grandma had told me in a story, that it was the men that made it, but it was the women that carried the load. The concept that she had was that when a man made it for a woman, he put a part of himself into it. So it used to come to life, and he used to help her by walking behind her. And when Coyote made fun of it, and that's when it fell over, and from that point the woman had to carry it on her back. But knowing that it was a skill that the men had, that actually was the motivation for me to make a burden basket.
Basket weaving is one of many traditional indigenous arts of the Southwest enjoying a renaissance today. My guests are advocates for preserving traditional Native arts and supporting contemporary art practices. Joining me are Terrol Johnson, a renowned artist who is also president and CEO of Tohono O'odham Community Action, known as TOCA, and Andrew Higgins, assistant curator of ethnological collections at the Arizona State Museum. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you.
Arizona State Museum sponsors a Wonder Weavers event which brings weavers from all over the state to demonstrate and sell their works. What's the significance of that event, Andrew?
Well, we wanted to bring in weavers from all over Arizona so the public could actually see the weavers and talk to the weavers themselves and not just look at baskets from the past, and so to inform the public that it's such a lively tradition today. And weavers today are not just doing traditional baskets, but as you'll see in Terrol's work, there's no boundaries, and it's just it's a wonderful time, and it's an honor to talk to artists like that and hear their processes. The common question is, how long does it take to weave a basket? And every artist smiles immediately, because it's just like, how could you do that?
So Tara, how long does it take to weave a basket? No. TOCA, I know, also sponsors a basket festival, so I'll ask you the same question. Why have such a festival? What's its importance or significance?
Well, as a basket weaver, there isn't that many groups out there, and it's really an isolated art. You're sitting there weaving, and the whole idea that I had was to bring weavers together so they can network and talk and share, and meet other weavers and get inspired, like I always been able to do when I meet other basket weavers, and get inspired and do different work and experiment with different fibers. And so with the gathering that we're having, that's what I'm hoping people will get out of that.
Do you think that also helps to keep the tradition alive?
Definitely. Definitely. I think you want to encourage and engage young people to really take it and look at it and, again, be inspired and hopefully wanting to do weaving.
Andrew, how does the work of the Arizona State Museum figure into keeping these traditions alive?
Well, we have very large collections of historic and ancient materials, of baskets and fibers, and we received a Save America's Treasures grant for our basket collection. So we are building a big glass vault, see-through vault, that's all climate controlled for all of our baskets, so the public will be able to look in. There's be a room in there for artists and scholars to come and study the baskets, which is always wonderful when we have artists actually in there.
What do artists do with the collection, or how do they use it in a way that furthers their practice, do you think?
They analyze the technique or the material or the designs even, and just try to, you know, it's a big inspiration. We had a weaver, Royce Manuel, in during the Wonder Weavers event, and he was just in awe that some of the Kiaha burden baskets that we pulled down for him, and seeing these techniques, and he goes, "Oh, it's a wonderful technique. I've never seen that," and he wants to try it. So it's you know, it's a real honor.
So Terrell, you have worked in museums and collections across the country. What do you see as the role of museums in supporting traditional arts and contemporary Native arts?
Well, it's a resource. It's a resource where we can go as artists and really do a lot of research, look at the arts, get inspired. I've used it several times in the very beginning of my career, going to the museum, Arizona State Museum, and looking and just seeing and touching and smelling baskets that were done 100 years ago. You know, and the fact that you can actually look at them and examine them very closely, and you know, it's a resource that I think is really important for not only basket weavers but other artists as well.
As I understand it, your work mixes traditional with contemporary. How is that received, or what responses do you get to your work from other basket weavers?
It's been received okay. Well, you know, in the beginning, a lot of people, I had to do a lot of explaining to a lot of elder weavers of my work. But one of the things I said was that, you know, the patterns that we are now looking at that we consider traditional, the person that came up with these patterns probably were in the same position of explaining what they meant, you know, getting people excited about it. And so that's what I pretty much did with my work. And you know, now I see other artists, younger artists, you know, doing the styles that I do now that I've, you know, created. And so it's really exciting to see that other people are experimenting and taking that first step and stepping into contemporary realm instead of the traditional.
Is that seen by non-Native Americans, non-Indians as still being Native American art, these contemporary forms? Sometimes. I think when I do Native juried shows, they're always trying to figure out where to put my pieces, what category, you know, and it's a little frustrating at first because they're the ones that kind of set the motion on how the public's going to receive your work, you know, especially in high profile shows where collectors and people that you know, expect the show to tell them, oh, this is the hottest thing, or this is the newest artist you need to have. And when my pieces come along, they're like, well, we don't know where to put him, you know. So it's a little frustrating, but I actually kind of also like stirring it up a little too. Andrew, do you know where to put him?
Well, very high, because what he does is he pushes artists to, you know, and judges and scholars to rethink of what a Native American basket or art form is, and stop putting them in a box. And I think it's just a wonderful time. And Terrell is one of those, you know, exceptional artists that has pushed that limit, and basketry is really, you know, an upward because of him.
Andrew, Terrell, thank you both so much.
Welcome.
It's the most sweeping change in a generation in how the Senate does your business, as the Democratic majority voted to end filibusters on most presidential nominations.
Afghan President Hamid Karzai complicated a key security agreement with the U.S., telling tribal leaders it should not be finalized until next year.
Plus, some familiar faces look back at the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
The air was filled with the most incredible screaming. It was like choirs all singing out of tune.
Robert McNeil and Jim Lehrer were both there 50 years ago, covering that fateful day in Dallas.
What the Kennedy assassination did for me was forever keep me aware of the fragility of everything. 3 rounds fired in 15 seconds changed the course of history.
Those are just some of the stories we're covering on tonight's PBS NewsHour.
50 years ago this week, Hugh Ainsworth and Sid Davis were working in Dallas.
It was just a beautiful day up until I heard what I thought was a motorcycle backfiring.
I heard the shots. I heard 3 shots pretty clearly.
And then complete pandemonium.
I'm Steve Inskeep, 2 reporters who covered the Kennedy assassination on the next morning edition from NPR News.
Dancer and choreographer Edward Villella is frequently cited as one of America's most celebrated male dancers. Villella became a member of the New York City Ballet in 1957, rising to soloist in 1958 and principal dancer in 1960. He recently collaborated with the University of Arizona School of Dance to stage George Balanchine's Tarantella, a ballet he performed when it premiered in 1964.
You're speaking with your hands. It's a conversation. And then think turn. This is a classical piece, but the classicism is underneath it. And what's on top is a folk dance. It's an Italian folk dance. And that was something that Balanchine did so wonderfully and beautifully. He always took from somewhere. He made the piece so that you had a full sense that it was supported by classicism, but he was giving you an internal view into an Italian folk dance, Tarantella. It is so valuable what the School of Dance is doing here at the University of Arizona. It is just terrific, because not too many people are sophisticated enough to know the internal parts of this. Easy now, easy. Now you're establishing this diagonal. For the Balanchine Trust to allow the university to use their students, normally the Balanchine Trust provides it only for highly sophisticated professional companies. I think it's a wonderful statement from the Balanchine Trust saying that this is a place, this is a school that can articulate at the highest level the internal understandings of these works. And don't stop moving. Move, come on. Yeah, that's it. Balanchine and the Trust were always seeking to advance the art form.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's been so special to have
Get the opportunity.
Yeah, and have him tell us how it feels and what you should be feeling, and straight from what Balanchine told him. So, I mean, I have a book with Edward Villella in it, and I didn't even realize that he was coming. And when I saw him in the book, I was like, this guy is he's famous. We need to I don't know.
Hug him.
Something. Kiss him on the cheek.
4, 1. It's a kind of a diagonal thing. Yes.
My legs, they're pretty much just noodles.
Yeah, you can feel all the lactic acid built up, and then you have to do 16 pirouettes at the end and smile. And that's probably the hardest part of the dance for me. I found that even just keeping my heart rate up and bouncing a little bit backstage helped, because it's such an uppity piece.
Right.
You can't just stop your muscles, because you won't survive.
Downstairs. Yes.
It's joyous, but it's also, I don't know, you're trying to get somewhere.
We're communicating through some of the dancing, and we have to, want that to be seen for the audience, through each other.
I calm down a little bit when I can meet eyes with him, because I'm like, we're gonna get through this, we can do this.
When Balanchine was first making these works, and there were a few companies around that he felt could handle what he was doing, he gave his ballets away. So he was always interested in moving the art form forward in this country in particular. It's a wonderful gesture that the Balanchine Trust is allowing this to happen because it is with us. This is the new classicism. And when young people understand the new classicism, it allows it to progress and continue. It's a continuum.
UA Arizona Repertory Theater's production of The Man Who Came to Dinner is being directed by a seasoned professional who has a colorful history with the show, guest director Hank Stratton. He has a long list of television credentials as well as regional and off-Broadway performances to his credit. In 2000, he appeared in the Broadway revival of The Man Who Came to Dinner. Hank, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Why a revival of a 1939 script?
Well, originally, back in 2000, the Roundabout Theater Company, which was the producing house in New York that was interested in reviving the play, was also inaugurating their theater. The Selwyn Theater on 42nd Street was being renovated completely and is now the permanent space for the Roundabout Theater. It's the American Airlines Theater. So they were looking for a classic title to open the show. Also, PBS at the time was also launching a live productions.
And it aired on PBS.
Exactly, and they were also looking for a classic title. Enter Anne Kaufman, the daughter of George Kaufman, one of the authors of the play, who was interested in this particular title. But one of the problems with this title is that it's very difficult to cast. She approached Nathan Lane. Nathan Lane jumped at the opportunity, said he would do it if Jerry Zaks, four-time Tony Award winner Jerry Zaks, did the revival. And so, therefore, a revival was born.
How did acting in that revival prepare you to direct the Repertory Theater's production?
Well, one of the great things about being in something like that is that you are on the ground floor of the creation of it. Jerry Zaks, the director of the Broadway company, had a very loyal traditionist's view of this particular play. So he followed the roadmap that George Kaufman, who was the original director as well, laid out for us. So it's something that I've tried to do here with the University of Arizona Repertory Theatre as well.
So you have a traditionalist view of this work?
I do. I think that these plays, one of the wonderful things about these plays is that they are not only perfectly constructed, but they don't really live outside the time period, which is one of the wonderful things. It's like a Valentine to an era.
What value do you think that is for students who are studying the craft to then act in this type of a work?
It's the same value that any of the classics teaches them. It's legacy, it's tradition, it's history, it's roots. If you look at comedies like, say, on television, Modern Family. Modern Family owes a huge thank you to the work of Moss Hart and George Kaufman. It's perfect construction, it's character and setup. No, they never wrote jokes, they wrote character. And out of character emerges the comedy and the values that come along with that.
So what is it that, as a director, that you're doing with students to help them move into these kinds of roles that they're playing?
Well, first of all, we try to focus in on the history. In this particular play, and it was unique at the time, it's one of the very first comedies that actually unapologetically based characters on current celebrities. The role of Lorraine Sheldon, the character of Lorraine Sheldon, rather, was based on Gertrude Lawrence. The role of Sheridan Whiteside is based on Alexander Woollcott, who was a very famous columnist, founding member of the Algonquin Round Table. Harpo Marx was the inspiration for Banjo. Noel Coward was the inspiration for the role of Beverly Carlton in the show. So we had to look at it in historic context and why those particular characters were being lampooned, made fun of, and, handed valentines at the same time.
Is it different directing comedy and historical comedy than contemporary comedy? And how is that different from directing drama? Because I know you've directed a range of works.
It is. I mean, comedy, if you'll forgive me, is almost like directing Shakespeare and musicals because there's a particular rhythm. If you don't honor the energy of the thought to the end of the line the same way that if you don't sing the thought to the end of the musical phrase, the joke won't land. So in terms of comedy, it requires expert precision in handling it. And if you don't do that, then the audience isn't as delighted. And as with drama, I just did a production of the Laramie Project for the University of Michigan. It was a real privilege there, and I worked with the Matthew Shepard Foundation and Erase Hate and all sorts of other things that come along with that particular work. There was more freedom, there was more wiggle room in rhythms and interpretations. But with these kinds of classic comedies, the approach should be very straightforward and very specific.
Well, and it seems to me something like the Laramie Project makes it clear how theater is relevant in the late 20th, early 21st century. The classics, not so much. So what's the case that you would make for the relevance of the performing arts today?
Well, the thing is that, you know, something that I was talking about the other night is that not to reference Wicked, but Wicked is something that, you know, my daughter, I have a 16-year-old daughter, and she's very interested in theater because of things like Phantom and Wicked, and that's, it's sort of a wonderful modern device that has gotten people back into the theater and interested in them, and all of a sudden they're opening their eyes to things like The Man Who Came to Dinner. The Man Who Came to Dinner is, for my money, is one of the founding cornerstones of modern comedy today. I mean, truly. And so if we study the construction there and we study why they were doing it then, we're able to draw upon that and bring that energy, that legacy into modern works and interpretation as well.
So what skills do you think an actor needs today to be able to play that range of work then from the classics to contemporary?
I think they've got to have, I mean, it's something that's sort of getting lost, or not lost, but swept under the carpet. It's technique. The theater requires a particular skill set that television is more forgiving of, in terms of vocal production, in terms of articulation, in terms of energy of thought equals energy of line. On television, it's very easy to, you know.
This particular production is being held in the Maroney Theater on the UA campus, which is an intimate theater.
Which is fantastic. But even, I mean, that's even deceptive in itself, you know. If the second that we become casual with the stakes of the comedy, it's not as funny. It's not as delightful, honestly.
So the way that you stage it in a small theater, same or different then?
I am staging this almost exactly the way that George Kaufman staged it originally, which is exactly the way that Jerry Zaks staged it on Broadway. I am following that roadmap. I mean, obviously we've had to make some concessions and some compromises for our particular physical world, but the brilliant Peter Boudère, who is a distinguished professor at the University of Arizona, has, I'm very fortunate that he has designed a perfect jewel box set. It looks like a grand living room right out of 1939 Ohio. And I've got Diane Fitzgerald, who designed the lights, and you know, the other professor, Ted Krause, who built the set. It's like we've just got the A-team that have created what looks like a very simple set, but that simple stationary set is almost the hardest to get right.
And this production, Man Who Came to Dinner, is running through December 8th?
December 8th, yes. So it's a wonderful Christmas story, actually. Sheridan Whiteside arrives on a lecture tour and ends up breaking his hip and ending up having to spend Christmas with the Stanleys, and it's all the hijinks that ensue from there.
Hank Stratton, thanks so much for joining me
Thank
today.
you so much for having me.
I'm Elizabeth Burden. Thank you for watching AZ Illustrated Arts. To post a comment on any of our stories or to keep up with the latest news, visit our website at azpm.org.